Title of our research project is, Can Recycling Education Programs Promote Recycling Rates in the U.S.? During the 1980s to 1990s, due to raised environmental awareness, U.S. recycling rates rapidly increased. For the past decade, however, the rates have been fixed at around 34%. According to a study by Eunomia and the European Environmental Bureau in 2017, our country only had the 27th highest recycling rate in the world. This reveals a need for improvement, especially considering our statistics that year. As you can see in the line graph depicting the recycling and composting rates in the US, especially from 1985 to 1995, the recycling and composting rates drastically increased. But since 2010, the recycling rates have stayed stagnant. There is also a large research gap regarding recycling rates and the effects of environmental education. However, a prior research study based in Spain analyzed the effects of a glass recycling program on primary school students and concluded that the program had positive effects on glass recycling attitudes and behaviors. Our team wondered if, similar to Spain, environmental education in the United States leads to positive effects on recycling attitudes and a higher recycling rate. We hypothesized that states that received a larger number of educational grants for recycling would have more knowledgeable residents and higher recycling rates than other states.
In order to collect the data used in the study, we relied on the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency education grants, which are used to fund projects related to the environment across the U.S. To filter and organize the data, we used the keyword search feature on the EPA website. Some examples of keywords were recycling, waste, and solid waste. Next, we used OLS regression analysis to test the hypothesized relationship. In particular, we compared the total funds for recycling-related projects with the recycling rate in each state. We also compared the number of recycling grants given to each state with the recycling rate of that state. After looking at the EPA data, we found that the EPA distributed 3,751 grants, which resulted in approximately $75 million worth of grant money being distributed to states over 25 years, from 1992 to 2017. Over the past 25 years, we found that the number of grants distributed has steadily decreased, with less than 9% of grants being offered after 2010. When looking at the data, we saw that less than 500 grants from the EPA were designated for recycling, solid, and toxic waste disposal, resulting in less than $10 million worth of money assigned to these issues.
Specifically, the study conducted across 50 states, divided into 10 different regions, demonstrated that only 11% of projects and total funding was related to the recycling education. Looking at the total project funding by state, we see that states' funding had large gaps. We can also see these gaps when considering the total project number in each state. For example, this map showing the total fund and number of grants given by the EPA from 1992 to 2017 highlights that California had the greatest fund money for recycling projects, nearly $883,000, and most recycling-related projects at 42, while Alaska had the least recycling projects and fund money, both zero. When completing the OLS regression analysis, we found that the grants for recycling program projects are not statistically related to the recycling rate. One reason this may have occurred is due to gaps in data, as many states did not release their recycling rates and were unable to fully compare the variables. Despite this, we found that as the number of educational grants decreased, the US recycling rate stagnated nationwide. Furthermore, after completing the regression analysis, we found that environmental education was positively correlated with the state's number of landfill sites and its population.
We believe that this is because landfill sites can be used as experiential learning opportunities for recycling, as many projects featured field trips and hands-on learning activities, and can encourage states to find new methods of waste disposal.
Overall, our research shed light on the importance of public investments in recycling programs in populous states, with landfill sites being well spent for experiential learning opportunities.
These investments in recycling educational programs will improve recycling awareness, contribute to higher recycling rates, and ultimately lead to the creation of a circular economy. Future research can explore the effects of other agencies' recycling programs or local community-based or other nonprofit organizations' recycling grants. Thank you for listening.